Hello everyone, Mr. B coming at you with the Origins of Civilization Unit Test Study Guide Review. Wow, that's a mouthful. So in this video, we are going to go over the Origins of Civilization Study Guide, give you all the answers so that you can prepare for the unit test coming up. So let's get right to it because we've got a lot of questions. So with all things, we are going to start at the Social Studies message board, and we are going to go to Study Guides. So we'll go to Study Guides, and then we'll go to Unit 2 because we're doing Unit 2 test, and we'll go to the Origins of Civilization Test Study Guide right here. We're going to click on that one. Once it opens, this will open the study guide, and as always, this is my copy of the study guide. You will not be able to type, edit, do anything with this copy. You have to make a copy of this for yourself. So real quick, the way you're going to do it is you're going to go to File, Make a Copy, and hit OK. You can rename it whatever you want. And once you hit OK, it'll open the study guide up in another window. That'll be your copy. And this is if you would like a Google Doc. So again, if you want a Google Docs, you go to File, Make a Copy, rename it whatever you want, hit OK. That'll make a Google Doc for you. If you prefer Microsoft Word, you're going to go to File, Download, Microsoft Word. So again, File, Download, Microsoft Word. That'll download the study guide as a Word document that'll save to your hard drive on your computer. You can open it, edit it, save it just like you would any Microsoft Word document. So there you go. So the study guide is, or the unit test is 20 questions, and it's going to have 3 short answer questions. So 3 short answer questions, little guide to writing those. First, make sure you read the question in its entirety and answer it in its entirety. If it asks for 3 things, give 3 things. Don't give 2, don't give 1, give what it wants. And sometimes they'll ask 2 questions. It might, there'll be 2 parts to the question. Make sure you answer both parts. That way you'll get full credit, okay? Answer it in complete sentences. Typically, you want to answer each short answer question in around 3 to 4 sentences. That's ideal. So, all right, let's get to the study guide. So question number 1 on the study guide. What development allowed humans to stop being nomads and start building permanent settlements? So that would have been the domestication of plants and animals, right? So humans were nomads. They're wandering around just searching for food, eating whatever they can find. Once you learn how to grow your own food, once you learn how to raise your own animals, you can kind of have more control over your diet. You can live in one place, have a farm, raise your animals, you have a steady food supply, and this allows for permanent settlements, right? You can stay in one place, you can build a permanent settlement, build a community. Question number 2. What is a surplus and what impact did it have on the development of early civilizations or early communities, excuse me? Surplus means extra. It means more than you need, right? And what a surplus did was it allowed communities to grow. So if your community only has enough food to feed, 15 families, that's the most you can, support. Otherwise, people are not going to be able to survive, right? But if you have 15 families, but you grow enough food for 20 families, well, now you can add 5 more families, right? So now you have 20 people. 20 people could probably grow enough food for 30 people. So then you have more surplus, and you just keep going like that until you get large communities and you get big cities. So that's kind of how ancient cities began. They started small fishing villages, and you grow a little bit extra so you can add more people. Then you grow a little bit extra, add more people, and it just keeps growing from there. Question number 3. Why did early civilizations begin near major rivers? Everything goes back to food with ancient civilizations, right? If you haven't realized that. Domestication of plants and animals in the first question, food. Second question, surplus, food. Third question, food, right? Why did they start by major rivers? Because that's where you can grow food, right? You need water to grow food. You need water to drink. So the river provides what you need, food and water, which is basically all ancient civilizations kind of cared about in the beginning, right? It was just all about survival, finding that food and water. Question 4. True or false, enslaved people were the most populated group in early civilizations? That's going to be true. The largest social class in early civilizations were enslaved people. So if you think of the pyramid, the top of the pyramid is the top of the social class. That's where the priests and rulers are. But that's also the smallest part of the pyramid, right? It's the very top. It's the smallest. That's the smallest group. The middle group, the merchants and workers, it's the middle part of the pyramid. It's the second biggest. And then the bottom is the slaves, and that is the largest part of the pyramid, right? So just that's how you can determine the population. The most people were at the bottom, the middle amount of workers and laborers, merchants, and then the fewest amount of people were rulers and priests, right? So question number 5. when did humans arrive in the Americas? That would have been around 15,000 years ago. And this is kind of like 15,000 years ago as far as we know, right? Because things keep getting older in social studies. There was even an article just recently that they found footprints in America, and now they think that people came to America a lot earlier than previously believed to. So for the test, they're looking for 15,000, but just know that history is always changing. We're always finding new evidence. So 15,000 is the number your test is looking for, though, right? So that's the number you're going to need. Question number 6, just list and describe all features of civilization. So this is going to be a tough one. It's going to be a long one, which probably means it might have something to do with your short answer questions. Maybe. Hint, hint. So there's a lot of features of civilization. You need to be able to know what the feature is and describe the feature, right? So government is to organize the community. Job specialization, people with a special set of skills, right? Like they can build things really well. Social classes, rulers, priests on the top, merchants in the middle, poor people and slaves at the bottom. They're the ones who do all the work. Arts and architecture, artistic expression, but also building grand architecture, right? Buildings, monuments, temples. That's a characteristic of civilization. Also systems of writing, right? You need the writing to keep track of your supplies, right? Keep track of how much food you have, keep track of how much supplies you have. And then later they use the writing for other things like, writing stories and recording history. But in the beginning, it's all about keeping track of your supplies, keeping track of your food. Remember, it always goes back to food in the ancient times. Religion, a shared set of spiritual beliefs, right? A set of beliefs that they all believe in, kind of creates community, it creates shared traditions, shared customs. And then public works. Public works is a public project, right? Like building a road, something that benefits the entire community. Question number 7, lucky number 7. What was the name of the first city and where was it located? That was Urk, and that was located in Mesopotamia, which is modern day Iraq, right? It's located along the Tigris and Euphrates River in that Fertile Crescent, which is kind of where civilization began, right? In Mesopotamia between the two rivers. Number 8, which continent did the earliest humans live on? That would have been Africa, right? So earliest humans lived in Africa. They spread out into the Middle East. And then from the Middle East, they went, left into Europe, right into Asia. And then from Asia, they would cross over the Bering Strait. And then they would come down from like Alaska into Canada and into the Americas. So that's kind of how humans spread, but it all began in Africa. Number 9, order these early developments from first to last. So we've got 4 different developments, and you can kind of figure out which one came first and which one came next. You can kind of piece it together if you just think about it critically. So cities developed, farming villages grow, agriculture develops, and people hunt and gather food. So if you've been paying attention to the uni, you probably know that people hunting and gathering what is the first one, because that's how we started, right? We started as hunter-gatherers. You can't have cities without villages, so cities has to be after villages grow, and villages grow have to be after agriculture, because you can't have a village. All right, so number 9, right? Cities develop, farming villages grow, agriculture develops, people hunt and gather food. So if you think about it critically, which one came first? People hunt and gather food. That's how we started. You can't have cities before you have farming villages, and you can't have farming villages before you learn how to farm, right? So kind of explains itself. So its first one is people hunt and gather food. Next, agriculture develops. Then farming villages grow. Then cities develop. That would be the order that those things came about, right? So number 10, what were the benefits of farming for early humans? Well, the benefits were that humans had a steady supply of food. They no longer had to wander around and search for food and sometimes go hungry. Now they had a more steady supply of food, which meant they could stay in one place now. They didn't have to wander around. They could start permanent settlements. They could build communities with each other, which led to big cities and civilization. So benefits of farming, there were a lot of them. Question number 11, what were the risks of farming for early humans? So farming had a lot of benefits, mostly benefits, but it wasn't, it wasn't fail-safe, right? There was some risks in farming, and those were the costs of successful harvests were not guaranteed, right? Due to weather, bad harvest. So if you had a bad season, your crops don't grow right, you have bad weather, your crops get destroyed, you could go hungry, right? I mean, you have to be able to grow food, and if something happens that makes it so your crops are destroyed or you can't grow food, that could mean, disaster for your entire village. So farming was not without its risks, right? There was risks in this kind of lifestyle where, you could have a flood and it could wipe out your entire crop, right? And now what are your people going to eat? So it wasn't fail-safe, right? It was better than hunting and gathering, obviously, but it wasn't perfect in the beginning, right? You had a lot of issues. Number 12, what happened 20,000 to 60,000 years ago? That would have been people migrated to Asia, right? So migrated out of Africa into Asia. Number 13, what was the Neolithic Revolution and how did it impact the lives of early humans? The Neolithic Revolution was the transition from hunter-gatherer lifestyle and when humans began to farm, right? So they go from hunter-gatherers to farmers. The impact was that now they could live in permanent civilizations, right? They could live in a permanent settlement, live in a village, which kind of started civilization, right? Now you can build cities and civilizations and the whole thing. Number 14, when archaeologists dig, where are older objects found? So archaeologists dig, the older the objects are, deeper down, right? The deeper you go, the older the things are. Younger objects are at the top, the older objects are deeper into the ground. Number 15, list 3 ways in which Neanderthals and Homo sapiens were similar and what set Homo sapiens apart. So they were similar in that they both used tools, they both used fire, and they both hunted animals. Those kind of primitive things. What set them apart was that Homo sapiens developed complex language, right? Language where they could communicate complex ideas to each other, and this allowed them to kind of grow beyond the hunter-gatherer kind of more primitive lifestyle and develop civilization. Number 16, what is job specialization? Job specialization is when a person develops a particular set of skills or an advanced set of skills, right? It's where a person becomes really good at producing something or really good at a particular service. They're really good at building. They're really good at making shoes. Somebody becomes an expert in one thing, all right? That's job specialization. 17, why did humans invent, or what did humans invent to keep track of food supplies? We've talked about this. Humans invented writing, right? Writing was invented so they can keep track of how much food they had. Number 18, human migration was made possible by mastering use of what? That was fire, right? With fire, people could stay warm in areas where they otherwise wouldn't have been able to survive. So they were able to move around during the Ice Age and stay warm because they mastered the use of fire. Number 19, what was important about the cave paintings? Cave paintings provided evidence that early humans had a complex culture, right? Early humans were expressing complex ideas. They were recording their history. They were recording what was happening with their lives. And they had concepts of, life and death and God. And, they weren't just kind of primitive animals. They had more complex ideas. That's what the cave painting showed. 20, how did humans survive the last ice age? Well, they did a lot of things. First, they migrated with the herds to stay, so they had food. Then they migrated to warmer climates because it was too cold. They learned how to use fire. They learned how to build shelters. They learned how to create warmer clothing from animals. And they also stayed together in larger groups, right? Hunter-gatherer groups got bigger during the Ice Age because you needed people to kind of stay together for survival and defense to help each other survive, basically, right? And question 20, you're going to put these things in order. Farmers domesticate cotton and flax. People learn to weave fibers, and from flax and cotton, humans began farming plants for food, and flax and cotton make lighter materials to wear. So the first one, if you think about it critically, what had to come first? Well, that would have been humans began to farm plants and for food, right? First, you have to learn how to farm. Once you learn how to farm, they started domesticating cotton and flax. You mean crops that you don't eat, but crops that you can use to make other things. So first you figure out how to do the food, then you can figure out other things you can grow. Once you grow that thing, then you can learn to weave, right? You can learn to make clothes out of this cotton and flax. And then the last one, cotton and flax clothes were much better and lighter and easier to wear than animal skins, right? And the things that they had before. So their clothes got a lot better when they learned how to farm because now they had different materials like cotton and flax to make clothes from. So yeah, I know this study guide went kind of fast. I only have 15 minutes to get all 21 questions in, so, do your best. If you have any questions or need any clarification on any of these, please reach out. And yeah, that is our study guide review. Good luck on the test next week, and I'll talk to you all soon.